Watch Talk Heathen live Sundays at 1 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTTH and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/callth.
Hello and welcome to Truth Wanted. I'm Puck. Unfortunately, we were unable to have our special guest, Melissa Grant, with us this time, but we'll do our best to get her back in the future. Until then, we have a fun special episode of Truth Wanted for you today. But before we got into that too much, I did want to say how important it is to us and hopefully to you to have a good amount of interaction between the people in the show, the people who run the show, and you, the viewers. We want to make a show that is meaningful for you. And to do that, we want to give you as many ways to interact with us as possible. Now, usually we rush this. At the end of the show, we'll flash our contact information down there at the bottom. We'll say, here's our Discord, here's our Facebook group. But I think I want to take a moment to really talk about how important that is, especially for a show like Truth Wanted. Over the past few weeks, we've gotten some calls with people who want to present some evidence to us that we're just not able to review on the spot. Maybe they have some documents they want us to look at or some videos. Now, obviously, we're not able to just throw on a video on the spot. If we have no way of previewing the content, we don't know if it's something that would be appropriate to air. So we'd want to take a good look before we just put something out. But if this evidence was meaningful and compelling to somebody, and if this is what convinced them about the truth of something, well, absolutely, it's worth it to us to take a look at it. And over the past few weeks, some people have submitted videos or submitted documents that are definitely worth a look at. I know that it doesn't seem apparent that we've taken a good look at this. I will assure you that we have. Someone submitted some video clips to the Truth Wanted Discord, for example, and I watched them and gave my review over there. Some people have submitted some longer videos, and it doesn't look like it, but I promise you, we're absolutely working on something. So I wanted to go over nice and clear just how many different ways you can interact with us and give us all your claims, give us all your beliefs, and give us all your thoughts. If there's any reason that you're not able to call, if you don't have the technology or don't have the resources to call, that's fine. For today, you can go ahead and let's put it in the chat. If you have any good question, put it in there, and the moderators will send it over here, and we'll be able to address your question on the air. Otherwise, you could email us. Our email address is truth@atheist-community.org. And as much as you might hear other content creators say, "Oh, I have so many messages in my inbox, I can't possibly keep up with it all. I have to decide what I can leave behind." No, my inbox is shockingly empty. Okay, so go ahead and flood me. Give me all the crazy information you want me to go over. If it's a website or a movie, you can send a link to truth@atheist-community.org. Another fantastic place is the fan-run Facebook group. You can go over to Facebook and add yourself to the group in there. I'm one of the moderators. I love going over that stuff, especially if it's videos. Drop off as much information as you can. There's many other fans there who can interact with you. And I would even go so far as to say that this is a more meaningful interaction because you can continue to post more links, more information to as many different places as you want. Keep talking to us on our Facebook fan group. Another fantastic place, and this is where I like to lurk, is the Discord. This is a Discord that's run adjacent to the ACA. If we have the site for that, you can go to tiny.cc/ACD Discord. There's a channel over there just for Truth Wanted, but if you wanted to interact with fans of the other shows, absolutely do that there. This is where I was looking at that video, and you can see the videos that were posted about 2 weeks ago, and you can see my response to there. There's thousands of people on there. If you're ever looking just to have conversation, just to find other like-minded people, or if you disagree, this is a fantastic place to have it. The people who moderate it keep it very civil in there, but there's still a couple of channels for some nice heated debate, if that's what you would want to have. But even if you're unable to engage with us on there, I want to make it to make it clear that we want to hear from you. We want to know if what we're doing is working, if we try something new and it really resonates with you. Absolutely, by all means, let us know. But if something didn't work, or if we are giving factually incorrect information, absolutely, we'd want to know that too. Okay, so we're waiting for today's guest, but I did want to see if I can bring up, because this is another thing that we gloss over way too quickly at the end of the show. There are a ridiculous number of people that are working behind the scenes to make it so all I have to do is sit here and monologue to you guys and to just come up with the material for what we're going to talk about. But behind the scenes, there's at least for every show, 2 people who are watching the video, 2 people who are watching the audio, are fantastic call screeners. The people who write the notes for the show, and all the people who are moderating in our Facebook group and in our Discord, and I'm sorry, Facebook, YouTube, who are keeping everything in line there. I've been on smaller shows before, and I remember doing shows when there was nobody except for the 2 people on the camera who have to do everything. And in a way that's very difficult to describe, but I'm going to try anyway. To have all of these things that you don't have to worry about. I don't have to worry about my lighting or how I'm lined up in the shot. I don't have to worry about is my audio coming through okay. And the best part about that is I don't have to take up airtime saying, can you hear this? Can you hear this? Are you coming through? No, we don't have to worry about that. And it's all thanks to the wonderful people in the crew. And let's see if we can pull them up. There we go. Hello, crew. So this is a good crew cam. This is nice that they're going to be here a little bit longer than they are at the end. But of course, we will thank them on the end. Over there, we have audio and video, and looks like Caitlin's taking some call screening for me. Everybody, give a big wave. Thank you.
Not only are we here, we're here and audible. What's up, Puck?
I have audio on crew cam.
Look at that.
There's a surprise.
It's
Hello,
magic.
everybody. Well, we'll take a moment to say hi and introduce yourselves, and let the crew know or let the audience know who you are. Let's start from the top left there.
Oh God, start with the old guy. Are you kidding me? Hello, I'm Greg. I'm executive producer of the ACA, and I get to work with all these fine people, much more than I deserve to. So,
and then to Greg's right.
And I'm Jason. I'm a video engineer. I'm in a V2 capacity right now, which means I'm back up for Matt, who will speak later.
And finishing off the top row.
Caitlin, say hello.
Hello, I was screening a call. That's what I
she's
do.
the one who's actually doing work right now, and we put her on the air instead. I cannot impress upon everybody just how important it is and just how much trouble is saved by having a call screener. That's how I started. And so thank you very much, Caitlin, for doing what you do. Bottom row on the left.
Hi, I'm Liam. I'm doing the primary audio stuff for today. Yeah.
And bottom right.
Matt. I'm doing the video stuff.
Thank you guys all so much for doing everything you do. This show wouldn't be possible without you, and I'm glad that we had an opportunity to put you up there. And since we weren't able to have the guest on today that we were scheduled to have, this is another great thing about having a large number of crew. My special guest today is going to be someone who, wow, do we go back? We actually started in the organization at the same time together. And we started as call screeners, didn't we? And then from there, we just kind of went our different ways. I went on camera, and my special guest here tonight went the way of the crew. So whenever we're ready, can we get Martin on? Hey, Martin.
How you doing, Puck?
This is a face that unless you've seen like maybe 3 episodes of Non-Profits, or you pay really close 5
episodes,
or if
maybe
you pay
6.
really close attention to crew cam, this is someone who might go unnoticed, but is a very good personal friend of mine. We spend a lot of time just talking and having fun. So I'm very glad to share Truth Wanted stage with you tonight, Martin. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. Should I tell the story of how I came to be here right now?
Well, if you want to give the whole intro as to how you came by the ACA, and sure, how'd you get here tonight?
Well, I'll start with the tonight part because I think that's the most interesting. So I normally do audio alongside Liam. Our executive producer, Greg, is filling in for me tonight because I needed an evening off. I missed my friends in the crew because they're wonderful people. And so I hopped into the crew private Discord server where we run all of our kind of back of house operations, the audio and the video stuff, very technical. And they informed me that the host was not able to be on the air tonight. Not the host, the guest. And I was given an invitation to come on with Puck. Puck's one of my favorite people in the ACA and in the internet world, as it were. And it is an absolute pleasure to be here. I thought that if and when I ever ended up here, I would be with Dan, but Puck, I wouldn't have it any other way.
I appreciate that. And Martin, like when I found out that you were going to be able to come up here, I was overjoyed because Martin and we could be a model for how to have civil conversations about people who fundamentally disagree with each other. There are a lot of places where Martin and I clash, but we're able to be friends and civil and still work together afterwards.
Absolutely.
I almost wish like we could just like post our DMs here just so we can see just how much we just don't understand about each other, but somehow.
Yours are usually voice messages, though, because Puck will record an audio message while driving as a rebuttal to whatever political talking point I'm trying to push on him, or he's trying to push on me. And it's funny because I'm also a delivery driver, but what I do is I do text to speak. Speak to text. Excuse me. I always say that backwards.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with my diction or something, but talk to text doesn't work for me at all.
Doesn't work. See, no. I enunciate very clearly, and you can tell that not just from how I speak on air, except for when I stuttered right there, but also when I speak in my customer service voice. In the years I've worked in the restaurant industry, I find that it's best to kind of cut your syllables up. That way people can understand them better, and it also helps with AI, apparently. So
I should know that because I spent a number of years in customer service, but I learned a very important lesson from another content creator that because I used to try to be a little more restrained, be very careful with my words, but it turns out that people really like watching people with a lot of energy on camera. So I was like, why am I holding back? If this is really what people want to see, and if this is what people really engage with, why am I trying to be all prim and proper? Drink my mug of orange soda with my pinky up, right? Why am I doing this when you guys like seeing high energy? This is great.
Wouldn't have it any other way. Or fucking orange soda. I wore an orange shirt in your honor, by the way.
Oh, I appreciate.
This is also one of my favorite shirts in the world.
What is it? Let's take a look at it. What do we have?
I don't know. I found it at Target, but what it reminds me of is kind of like Tatooine a little bit from Star Wars.
Tatooine?
Yeah, from Star Wars. I don't know. It has a very Star Wars-y feel to it, but it's not a Star Wars shirt. And anyway, I was thinking about it made me think of Star Wars when I bought it. So it's my Star Wars shirt, even though it doesn't say that.
Okay, Red 5. Let's One thing that's cool about me and Martin, and we actually just did the math on this. We started really close to about the same time.
364 days ago, to be exact, for me. I don't know about you. I think Katie talked to you a few days earlier.
But who's counting? But one thing though that I got to push while I have the microphone is that we're looking for volunteers, and if there's anything that you can do to help out, don't think necessarily like we put up a bunch of audio and video people, but even if you don't have those technical skills, there are still ways that you can help us out in our community. Our wonderful volunteer coordinators can find the right fit between your talents and our needs. I believe there's also a Facebook command, so I'm counting on those Facebook moderators to put that up. If you want to volunteer with the ACA, there are definitely ways to make that happen. So this is the good example of that. You and me, Martin, because we started out with this. We had no idea we were going to end up where we are now.
Nope. Absolutely no idea.
And I think it was Johnny that discovered me and said, hey, let's take the guy with the purple mohawk and see if he's any good at political commentary. Oh, there's Crew Cat.
Yeah. This is not the original Crew Cat, by the way. The original Crew Cat is Vern's cat. This is Woodhouse, who is Crew Cat 2. Oh, look at him. he's being so sweet right now because he's just so mad because I'm talking to you guys and I'm not paying attention to him.
Oh,
yeah, thank you for the kiss. Okay, you can get down now. That's enough cat for one night.
I don't dare to bring Max and 99 up here. They're very vicious cats. My wife, when she streams on Twitch, will occasionally bring 99 up, and 99 has just been known to actually on camera just swat her across the face.
That's fantastic.
Just like, nope, this isn't going to happen. Put me down this instant. So trust me that, just take it on faith that 99 and Max actually do exist.
They do. I've seen them.
Yeah, they do exist. So we're going to be here. Okay, well, Martin, we got a couple of calls on the line. How do you feel about doing your first call-in show, taking calls on your first show?
Well, this actually is not my first call-in show. I was a guest on Secular Sexuality.
Oh, were you?
Yes. So, for my second call-in show, because who's counting?
I'm totally embarrassed now. And not only that, but let's go ahead and show this also.
Counting?
Because now I just remembered this isn't even the first call-in show you and I have done together, is it?
Oh, I guess not. No, we were on the Perspective.
We did the Perspective a few months ago.
Yeah, that was fun.
This is like an old school partnership here. This is good. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit the lines here. Let's do Kelly from Michigan. Kelly, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Hey, Kelly. Good, doing awesome. How are you?
Hey, Martin.
So, Kelly, you have a story for us?
Sorry. Pardon?
You have a story for us?
Yeah. I was told you were going to do a topic of how I stopped believing, so I called in to talk about how I stopped believing.
Oh, okay. Well, share with us.
Well, I was in middle school, and I started reading a lot of Greek and Norse mythology, and I started wondering what happened to those gods, but that didn't really push me over yet. And then one night early in high school, I was watching that really old version of The Devil and Daniel Webster. And I thought, well, I could do this. I could get one over on the devil, so I could get all the stuff I wanted for the rest of my life. So I decided that was how that I was going to go ahead and sell my soul to the devil because I could get out of it later. I was smart enough. Called him for a week. He never showed up. And that's when I decided it was all fake.
That's one way to do it. You summon the devil, nobody shows up, and
yeah.
And how long ago was this?
Yeah, test your test the proposition, right?
19. Pardon?
Oh, I was just saying, test the proposition, or test the hypothesis.
Right. This would have been about 1975 that I did that.
Okay, so the immediate question that comes to mind right now is because we've all heard stories where someone will call us up and say that they did something similar to what you did. They say, God, if you're really there, then in some way it's going to manifest, and then something will happen in their life, like they'll turn on Spotify and the third song that's on their playlist just happens to be the song that they were thinking. So they see it as they were able to interpret that as a sign from God. This doesn't seem to have happened to you. So what went on differently in your mind, where instead of interpreting something as a sign that the devil actually showed up, how did you set this whole thing up so that you wouldn't be fooled or wouldn't be taken by confirmation bias?
Well, I was just a young kid. I just figured it was going to be just like we're taught that it was going to be. There was going to be a puff of smoke that smelled like sulfur and brimstone, and there he was going to be. So that's what I was just expecting him to poof up in the middle of my bedroom. So I don't know that if I would have had any confirmation bias if that had happened, I probably would have been sold 100%. But I didn't get anything happen to me at all. I mean, not even a weird incident all week long. So I was pretty convinced that there was nothing going on. And I chose to go for the devil instead of asking for God because I had talked to so many people that had asked God to manifest themselves in their lives, and they had never actually seen God. They would always talk about how something happened to them that they thought was a sign of God, but they had never actually seen God. And I had never read or heard of anybody seeing God since the days of the Bible, basically. So I was not expecting him to show up at all. But there was all these stories about the devil showing up. So I figured if I could get anybody to come, it would be him.
And unfortunately, it didn't quite work out for you.
Well, no, actually, it was fortunate because it got me out of my belief. I mean, it was pretty solid evidence that nothing was there for me anyway.
Yeah.
I still thought about it a little bit for the next few years, but after that, I was pretty convinced that I was out of that thing. And I moved on to other things like a lot of us do, into paganism and Buddhism and other stuff, and eventually just became a straight out atheist.
See, that was going to be the next question that I had was like, a lot of people aren't able to just shut that off like a switch, even if they are brought face to face with direct contrary evidence to what they believe. There's usually still a little chunk of them that for some reason will still hang on. But it seems like to you, you were able to go very quickly from that. And you had a couple of other woo beliefs. And I think I've talked to you before or heard you before about some other beliefs that you may have had at one point and fight back. But so it's very interesting to me that you were able to do that. I think that's awesome. What advice would you have for other people who might be listening to this, who will be confronted with evidence that is contrary to what they believe, and there's just something that's keeping them hanging on? What advice do you have for those guys?
It's hard for me to say because it happened for me so quickly, but it was because I was able to challenge everything I believed in and approach that with an open mind, thinking that what I totally believed in could be wrong. And that's the main thing, I think, is to keep your mind open and to think that everything that you think is real might not be. So if you can keep that open mind, I think you're in a lot better place.
Yeah, absolutely, Kelly. Keeping an open mind is one of the, I mean, it's how we do scientific inquiry, but also it's just important in life. Humans are made to make assumptions and judgments. It's part of our survival instincts. And so to kind of be conscious of that and avoid making bad assumptions. I mean, if you make an assumption based on evidence, that's one thing, but if you make an assumption based on one piece of evidence when there could be 20 others that contradict your conclusion, that's where you need to be careful. Is if you don't have all of the pieces of the puzzle, don't start to judge what the puzzle is. To end on a light note, because I think we have another call to get to here. I will ask you, Kelly, did you check the details? Because the devil is always in the details.
Very good, very good. No, I didn't even see any details. That was the problem, right?
Oh, and see, if there's no details, then there's no devil.
Yep,
I think
that's it.
If the devil is in the details and there are no details, ergo there is no devil.
No, I got to appreciate your adherence to the scientific method there of coming up with criteria for your experiment, having the results of the experiment not come out, therefore you question the original premise of whether or not the devil exists. I get that question a lot too, like about UFOs. Like, what would convince you that UFOs are actually, aliens? It's like, well, okay, here's the actual criteria that I have. You'd have to be able to demonstrate or prove its actual form. You'd have to show that where the origin was, and then you have to have some sort of predictability as to how it's going to behave. And so, thank you, Kelly, for setting aside, for showing us a nice little template for how we can examine these beliefs, and then afterwards learn to question the base premise because the results didn't turn out the way that we thought they would. Hello, Woodhouse.
Yeah, he is not letting me host the show tonight, so he's going to host the show with me. I don't know if you could hear him, but he's been sitting next to me and crying very, very quietly, but still audibly.
Kelly, you got any last thoughts to send to leave our audience with today?
One thing I'd like to say, Puck, it was an honor being on a show with you. It's been one of my dreams, and I feel like I kind of fulfilled that today. So thank you for that. And I guess the only thing I can say is having an open mind doesn't mean that you believe in alternative facts. That just means you're following the shepherd with a smaller flock.
Oh, well, Kelly, thank you very much for giving us a call tonight.
Thank you so much, Kelly.
And you know what? As much as I was talking earlier about ways that you can keep up with and be in touch with the crew, I completely forgot to mention Patreon. We are on Patreon at patreon.com/truthwanted. And one of the fun perks of being one of our patrons is that every week we will shout out our patron of the week. This week is no exception, even though I'm doing this a little later in the show than I normally do. This week's patron of the week is, drumroll please, Garret AJ. Garret AJ, congratulations. Thank you very much for watching the show and being our patron. Take this frame, like get a good still of it, get it framed at your local frame shop. We're very happy to have you here with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Garret AJ.
All right, Martin, you ready to put that cat down again?
He's just sitting on my lap. I have no say in this. He runs this house. I just live here.
Okay. Well, let's just go to whoever's next. We have James from Texas. James, how are you doing tonight?
Fantastic. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. What would you like to talk to us about?
Well, since I'm an atheist, I thought I'd bring up the misinformation about vaccines that have caused this pandemic to be prolonged.
Now let's hear what you got to say.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Well, our leaders who presented as if we're over the pandemic and we can go back to normal. My position on that, they have no authority to be saying that stuff to put us at risk. And there needs to be more positive information about how actually they did work on the vaccine for COVID-19 prior to this outbreak even happening, to give the public more confidence in how the vaccine is actually more tested than they think they believe.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out where you were coming from there. And I agree with you.
On that.
The awkward part is this information is out there. And it's not even all that difficult to find this information. I think the stumbling block is something other than access. I don't think that I think the problem is somewhere other than the information isn't out there or the information isn't public enough. I don't know what it is, but I think there's a stumbling block that makes it so that even if it is completely good, accurate information, it's not being believed. And Martin, this is going to be a fun place where you and I might get to showcase how we disagree on things. So, Martin, what do you think about all this?
I think that this is how to say this. I think that the disinformation and misinformation that has come up around COVID is a symptom of a much larger problem in America. It has nothing to do with COVID necessarily. It has to do with anti-intellectualism. And I could go on that topic for a while. I don't pretend to be an intellect. I attended college. I did not graduate college yet. But anti-intellectualism is the rejection of intellect as valid and thinking like, no, everybody has the same brain, therefore everybody's conclusions are just as valid as everybody else's. And in reality, we learn things and we get better at things by learning them and by doing them. And, as we were talking about with COVID, the number of clinical trials that the vaccine went through compared to anything else that would have been, a non-crisis, either vaccine or medication or treatment, whatever it may be. I don't have the numbers offhand, but I know that they were staggering. And obviously, it's not perfect. But what we do know is that the vaccine has, without question, saved lives. You can see in the data today, the pandemic of the unvaccinated. I've heard it called, COVID-2 electric boogaloo, which is not such a great name, but it's pretty accurate because we're back, baby. We're right back where we were about a year and a half ago. And people are just as out of touch with reality now as they were then. And that's because they weren't ever in touch with reality in the first place. A lot of it, and I'm not going to name names, but I think we know who I'm talking about. A lot of it comes down to certain media agencies and the amount of money that is involved in them and the small number of owners of said media agencies. A lot of that has set the stage for this kind of disinformation. I mean, sure, there's always the Alex Jones, fringe wingnuts, but we're talking about 30 or 40% of the country just straight up rejecting what their doctor would tell them if they even asked their doctor. When I meet unvaccinated people or people who question masks or anything like that, I always ask them, I'm like, did you ask your doctor? And they're like, oh, well, Dr. Tenpenny said, no, sorry, but fuck Dr. Tenpenny. Did you ask your doctor? And I tell them, don't have that conversation with me. Go to your GP. And if you don't have one, go get one real quick, or go into a clinic and sit down and say, hi, I don't think the vaccine works. I want you to explain to me, and then I'll see if I believe you. And see what they say. And to my knowledge, nobody who is anti-vax has ever taken up that challenge, because they don't want their conclusions to be challenged. We live in an age of extreme confirmation bias, and it's just perpetuated, as I said, by this media machine that spreads misinformation like candy to children. Anyway, I am going on a huge rant.
No,
here,
that's
so I'm going to hand it back to Puck.
And one of those things, I mean, it's a legitimate question. It seems like this, we hear about some vaccines that have taken years, if not decades, to develop. What's up with this particular virus and in this particular vaccine that, oh, look, it's only been a few months and all of a sudden they have vaccines that they think are safe enough to roll to the public. But it's because we've spent a long time studying this stuff. We're not starting this from scratch, right? I mean, the coronavirus is part of a family of viruses. So we already have a little bit of knowledge about it already. We just need to fine tune it to this particular specific virus. And the knowledge that we've gained of what makes a safe vaccine is because we've been doing this for decades. So it's not like we're doing this from scratch. It's not like we have to invent a new vaccine out of absolutely nothing. I don't know. Is this helping your question at all, James?
No, yeah, I'm right on the same page with you guys. I agree.
Okay.
However, there's a big hypocrisy when it comes to kids going back into school without wearing masks and just acting as if everything's cool. When we were at the beginning of this pandemic, here in my local region, we had a marker wanting to be at 5% of infection rate or below. We actually here never hit that mark, and school was open. And now we're in the teen high percentage rate of people infected, and school is going to be open. So it seems as if they don't really.
We lowered the bar.
Word. Yeah,
well, we lowered the bar because humans are social. We can't. And I'm not trying to get you to agree with the decisions made by your local government. I'm assuming we're talking about Texas. It says that's where you're calling from.
Yes. Yes, we are.
Yeah, I agree that the bar shouldn't be lowered, but at the same time, people are going crazy. Especially families with kids. The ones who never went into quarantine or lockdown to begin with, maybe they're having a different experience. But for the ones who have just been staying home, who don't necessarily have resources to travel safely or anything, who have just been sheltering for a year and a half now. People need to socialize, and I'm not saying that we should socialize. I'm not saying that it's a good idea to do what the CDC says not to do. You should do what the CDC advises is healthy, because we are still in a global pandemic, and the reason we're still in a global pandemic is that people aren't taking this seriously.
Yeah, and then the next group of people that I want to address, and I'm sure you people have heard about this before also, there's a subset of the anti-vax community that says, well, I know that this is what is generally good for people, and I know that this is what the CDC and doctors recommend, but I know what's best for my family. And I am assessing the risks for my family, and I'm making my, the choice for me. Now, I would imagine that it would be very different, for people who have children and people who are raising children, they have to make a completely different choice than I have. So it'd be fascinating to get the perspective of someone who is raising kids in this pandemic, how they make the choice they do. But that seems to be the next level for me. Not just I trust the information in a general sense. I just am making a different informed decision for my family and for me personally. Right. How do you feel about that, James?
Well, I was going to say, if I can just chime in real quick. That's the type of person who I say, don't talk to me. Mm-hmm. Go talk to your doctor. Go talk to your child's pediatrician. and ultimately we need to get people to be having these conversations with the right folks. I am not the right person to convince you that vaccines or the COVID-19 vaccine is viable. That's just not me. I'm happy to direct you to the resources that you need to feel reassured. The resources that I've found, such as vaccination rates causing COVID rates to drop. That isn't just correlation. We know that's causation, especially in, again, the pandemic of the unvaccinated. But I would tell people you have the right to refuse chemotherapy too, if you really genuinely think that you have a better way to beat cancer. But chemotherapy, again, not an oncologist here, but chemotherapy is generally the best way to beat cancer. And so when people say, no, I know better than my doctor, they may think they know better than their doctor, but what they're actually claiming is they know better than all of the doctors. And if you know better than all of the doctors, then why don't you have your own medical university yet?
Right. Because
you need to be training fucking doctors now, because we need those doctors to be better than the doctors that you're saying aren't good. It's this anti-intellectual American mentality. And I say American, you can go back and find years and years and years of me with American flags all over myself. I grew up watching Fox News. I bought all of Bill O'Reilly's books until about 2012 when I pulled my head out of my ass. But basically, we need to cut through this anti-intellectual vibe. And this is a great moment, if I'm just can keep monologuing here because I like this topic. This is a great moment to point out the intersection between humanism and skepticism, skepticism and intellectual, or intellect, I guess, or academia, they all kind of intersect. And that's where the humanism side comes in, is we don't need to be putting these people down. I mean, it's funny when people go on anti-vax rants and have public meltdowns, but at the same time, like, have you ever had a public meltdown? It's generally because you're not in a great place in the first place. And so what we need now, I think, more than ever, and I always try to practice what I preach, but I also will say that I'm not perfect, is to make sure that we're generally kind to these folks, given the opportunity to have a meaningful conversation. If somebody comes at you and starts screaming like, oh, you commie Nazi pro-vax baby eater, like, you don't need to take that person seriously. That's not a serious person. They're not behaving like an adult and shouldn't be treated like one, as far as I'm concerned. You can dismiss them the same way you could dismiss a screaming child. But if somebody is actually like trying to engage in the conversation, don't put them down. Don't be like, oh, you're anti-intellectual. Like I use that phrase almost sparingly. I try not to, because it can come off as kind of pompous. But at the same time, if people are saying, I know better than my doctor, with no reason to, that is the definition of anti-intellectual culture. And so anyway, James was asked a question there and I jumped in.
No, James, thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Hopefully we got your questions answered.
Yeah, no, you guys, it was a great conversation. I just wanted to bring that up and to share. I'm on the side where I think, not just in our country, but probably worldwide, I think this pandemic vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine, should be just mandated. Everybody get it, And
then we get to talk about picky things like legislating that, and whether or not whether or not that's something our government should touch, or any government should touch.
And on that, real quick, one of the only reasons why children are generally vaccinated for like measles, smallpox, chickenpox, a couple other things,
mumps and rubella, MMR.
Yeah. Thank you, mumps. Yeah, exactly. Is because you have to have those to go to public school, and as much as people are anti-vax, they'd rather send their children to public school. And so what I think we need to do is, instead of creating just a mandate, we need to understand our audience. And I mean we, as if, we are here crafting public policy for America, us on Truth Wanted. But in all seriousness, just a straight up mandate would just be rejected, and I think possibly even lead to violence. There need to be positive incentives to get this done, such as you cannot send your child to 7th grade or whatever the cutoff is. I think it's 12 now, 6th grade maybe, if they don't have the COVID vaccine. Do that, and then at least get the kids to get it. because at least then the parents will, and this sounds, to an anti-vaxxer, I'm sure I sound insane, but so do we all. But that way, ultimately, they can be like, oh, hey, my kid's still alive 3 years later. Maybe I should get the COVID vaccine. And can this wait 3 years? No, we need to find a better way to address this as a country. But at the same, this can't even wait 3 more days. People get fucking vaccinated. I wasn't planning on coming on a show tonight, so you're getting Martin just completely unfiltered.
Yeah. Well, we do have to move on, though, James. We got a bunch of callers on the queue, but thank you very much for giving us a call, and thank you for engaging with us.
You bet. Thanks for having me on, guys. Enjoyed it.
Have a good night.
I was going to say Martin Raw and Uncut, but that's a Thursday show.
Oh, speaking of... That's a good segue. Speaking of Thursday shows, there are a whole bunch of other ACA shows for you to watch, including our Thursday night show, Secular Sexuality. And if you haven't been watching, here's what you've been missing.
You're like a sex archaeologist.
I'm turning into a historian.
You're like the Indiana Jones of the sex worker industry.
I think some people have a sustainable amount of Dan, and I'm a limited resource.
I need more Dan in my life.
The tenets are a little vaguer than the commandments. Doesn't mention my neighbor's ass in the tenets, which is always on my mind.
I know. I'm reading the Atheist's Handbook to the Old Testament right now. I'm not listening to the audiobook that Seth did because I don't need to be like aroused while listening to this book. Yeah.
I'm probably not going to tell you off, Matt. I do want to give you some critical feedback.
You can, and I don't mind.
Fine.
I did it. It was fun.
Well, Martin, you said you wanted to be on a show with Objectively Dan. That's as close as we can get for now.
I'll take it.
I love those bits.
Dan's a good guy. I have to say real quick, if we can just kind of banter for another couple minutes before we take calls, because I like I like sharing a little behind the scenes stuff with folks. When Puck and I first started hanging out with ACA people, I think Puck knew some ACA folks before you started call screening, right?
Yeah, I knew of them. Yeah,
you knew of them. Okay. Ran in circles, maybe not intersecting, but bordering them. And so what happened was we saw a call to action, on the the AXP fan group on Facebook, which is fan run by fans for fans. And the call was from Katie, who is now the associate producer for the production arm of the ACA, otherwise known as the Atheist Experience Network. And so Katie was recruiting more call screeners, and she found Puck, myself, and Kurt. You can see all three of us at various times appear on the nonprofits. And I'm honored to call both of them friends as well. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to know. I mean, I have so many friends in this organization now, and most of them don't appear on screen. It's pretty crazy what goes on behind the scenes. Just a little more of my journey here. I went from call screener to volunteer audio engineer, and then recently actually started contracting a little bit, helping out our executive producer, Greg, and Katie, the associate producer, with just kind of back of house production details, let's say, whether that be helping guests get booked or get set up in the remote environment or training new crew members. And it's just been an absolute pleasure working with these folks. Everybody here is delightful. And I, as somebody who watched AXP for the last 5 years religiously, it is an absolute pleasure to get to know everybody. And anyway, Puck, take it away.
Thank you. If Pucks could blush, I'd be blushing.
You are a little bit. You're matching your hair.
Thank you.
I know how to make a gentleman blush. Okay.
Yes, you do. Okay, let's get back to the calls here. We have Spicoli from Florida. How you doing tonight?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Did I say that name right?
Yeah, you got it.
All right, thank you. What did you want to talk about?
Well, mine was kind of a lot along the lines of I want to say the caller before last who was talking about vaccine hesitancy, basically, and lack of, really good information. I work for a I worked for a government bit there, and it's like I've just got so many coworkers who are, just so misinformed. It's almost, it's really upsetting.
So are they like really hostile about it, like in your office place, or are they just kind of like talking about it and it's bothersome to you?
Sure. It's no. It's a pervasive thing where like they, will actively speak up against, such things.
Yeah, it's really upsetting to see and hear. I'm thinking back to I worked for Whole Foods from November of 2020 to this past May when I finally just had enough. I was good at the job. The job was, manageable, but the company was just atrocious. But anyway, yeah, there were a number of coworkers who just in the break room would come in, turn the TV to Fox and then just sit there and be like, guess we got people dying from this vaccine, and then just look around and see who reacted. It was fucking insane. It was like, literally, it was like trolling on Facebook, but in real life. It was really impressive to watch, actually. And I would never engage with them. I would always just kind of give them one of these, and then walk away because they weren't in my department. I didn't need to know them. We just happened to coexist in the same building. And if they're just going to be blatantly hostile from the start, that's not somebody who I need to talk to or have in my life. But I'd always let them know with my facial expressions exactly how uncomfortable they were making the entire room feel. And so if I have 2 cents for you, it's either speak up or find a way to let them know that, their narrative is not accepted by you. If you're able to do so without compromising your workplace, of course.
Oh, see, now that's a funny one right there. Is the old saying that the squeaky wheel gets the oil?
Yep.
What the Japanese saying of that is that nail that sticks out gets hammered. So it's like a double-edged sword there. It's like, even though sometimes you want to drop the, and for whatever it's worth, I feel a kind of a duty almost to do the right thing there. And it's like, that's all of, my boys are vaxxed up just like, myself. And I've even kind of convinced some of the others, but it's like, really, some of them are just so, and it's like, when you say anti-intellectual, it's like, they just don't even want to look at the facts, or they don't even want to give it. It's like, it's a silly thing. Like, and I say to them, did you not like the polio vaccine? You ever heard of the March of Dimes before? Ebola, you're kidding if you think that, it's a rough one, and they'll acknowledge those points and be like, still, and that's that heavy cognitive dissonance that just comes out with that stuff.
So the puck method of handling this, of course, the mileage may vary. Like a direct blowout confrontation with these people in front of their audience usually won't go the way you think it's going to go. So I don't even like it. Like when they put us through call-in show host school, one of the first lessons they taught us is, you don't have to let someone have access to your base. If someone is on a call, is spitting out a whole bunch of vitriol and is not being an honest interlocutor, there's no reason to continue engaging with them. These people are loud, but they're in the minority. The most recent poll that I saw shows that most Americans actually do support being fully vaccinated. So as much as they're willing to talk, then that's when you turn around and not addressing them, but then to talk to the other people and say, hey guys, I know that this seems to be popular on this particular television show. Let me show you the facts that I have, and let me show you the information I have and why I think this is a better way to do it. You don't have to engage with their base. You don't have to, and at the same time, you don't have to let them engage with yours. What do you think about that?
So, when it comes down to I agree for the most part with everything you say, but sometimes there comes an impasse where it's like, no matter what, you still have to engage here. And I'll give you a short example, is that specifically we had somebody bail for an entire weekend and excuses ranged up and down the line of symptoms and wanted to just come back untested. And unfortunately, it falls on oneself to be like, I don't think this is right. And it's like, if you're going to expose me or anybody else, I'm just going to use some time off to maybe, I'll isolate myself paid, that way. That's a rough go there. And for whatever it's worth, my, claims fell on, good ears. They, mandated a test for old boy and stuff like that. So it's like, it ended up, speaking up ended up working out for the right thing for everyone, ultimately.
Good. Yeah, like I said, they're loud, but they're in the minority. I mean, more people support vaccination, more people support meaningful, especially if you're running a business or in the HR department of a business, where you have a vested interest in making sure that your workplace is safe. That would have been my next recommendation: is take it up with HR. But Martin has a different idea.
All right. I was going to say I would never.
Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready for a heavy devil's advocate one? Because
yeah, go ahead.
I kind of argued this the other day, and believe it or not, I got a rough feedback. Is that we've been in this almost 2 years now, 1 year and 3/4. We're going to be in COVID-19 state here. And this is a tough one here. It's like I'm not in the demographic that is super, super susceptible to heavy-duty COVID symptoms, right? I'm fully vaccinated, and I'll mask up, I'll mask up for the most part all the time that when the situations dictate, right? Like, at what point is one's personal health their own mandate and society has to function as it will? And, like, I know that's a rough one to go with, but, like, at what point do regular folk that have regular jobs, that vax up and, it's like, hey, I don't, boosters, I'll take a boost, whatever, it's like, but at what point I'll laminate my damn vax card, but at what point can, and I'm like, hey, grandma, hey, grandpa, I love you, I only have grandma left, but it's like, anyway, like at what point, do you go there at that? That's a heavy thing to think about.
Yeah.
Because it's like we're not going to get herd immunity. It doesn't seem like it's a thing that's going to happen for us. But
the next awkward question is like, just because it's something that's a societal good, does that mean that it should be the responsibility of our government to legislate it? So there's another question on top of that. This is why I wish nonprofits had a college show.
But see, it's funny because one of my kind of, when I talked to the call screener, I was like, sometimes it's like virtue signaling is a thing in our society, and it's like at what point do we get down to the brass tacks of, how things are unfolding for us in real time versus like what the ramifications are, I guess, long term. It's like, and I don't have any answers really, but it's like, those are the kind of thoughts I'm like, damn, those are heavy ones. And it's like, anyway, sorry.
No, thank you very much for calling.
It was great talking to you guys. Really, it was awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much for calling.
It was wonderful. And thank you for continuing to fight the good fight and to have the good conversations. And hopefully we can continue to be a good model for how to have these conversations outside the show.
And remember, folks, talk to your doctor about it.
I cannot express to others. Well, you don't even know. I'm like third generation atheist. Well, kind of. My half of my family's Seventh-day Adventist. The others are hard atheists. So it's like, it's crazy dichotomy. But it's like, that's fun. Man, I got some good Christian ones too. But darn it, that was the one that I wanted to. You guys were already in there, so it was a good segue. So anyway, thank you guys.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
See, I was almost a Seventh-day Adventist, but I slept through the seventh day, so I was just a Sixth-day Adventist, and that's not a thing.
Okay, let's switch gears a little bit then. Let's move on to.
Who are we talking to?
We have Deborah from Oregon. How are you doing today?
Hey, Deborah.
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Doing all right. What would you like to talk to us about?
I think what I called in initially to talk about. My mind's completely blown by the last.
Deborah, really quick. I'm hearing like a radio in the background. Is something playing there that we can turn down or turn off?
Yes, I can definitely turn that down. My apologies.
No.
How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, much better. Okay.
Thank you.
There you go.
Okay. What I called in to talk about was like my gradual transition from being a very religious person, a theist, to being where I'm at right now, where I consider myself just a humanist. And it's amazing to me that I lived all of my young life, and there was no happiness in my childhood except for when I would go to Lutheran church with my dad and stepmom, and I would get to fellowship with my youth group. So many happy memories. And I think that's the kind of stuff that held me on for so long. And I now at 51 finally realized that it's all a bunch of crap. I hate to be like disrespectful like that, but it to me, it's a bunch of crap because I can fellowship with really good human beings and I still get that happiness feeling. They don't have to be religious people. They don't have to be atheists. They can be just good people and that can bring me happiness.
Absolutely.
No, I agree.
If I can, if I can chime in off of that, because I grew up in the church. I grew up going to two different churches. I was baptized Episcopalian, and then my parents and my sister and I changed to Methodist, I believe, when I was in 6th grade. But the Methodist church was a massive part of my childhood, and it's still part of my life today. I'm still friends with, I believe 2 pastors from that church. They weren't pastors there anymore. Maybe 3. I think I have 3 pastors on my friends list still, and a number of adults who helped me grow up in the church. I hold on to the good stuff from that. I hold on to my now deceased youth group pastor, Kevin, who is an amazing role model for me as a high schooler. He was there as both a friend and a teacher, just not in regard to Christian doctrine exclusively, but just life. He was always there to listen and help with homework. And so I hold on to that stuff, and I want to be that someday in some community that we don't have yet that doesn't involve religion. And that's why we're here, and that's why we're doing the show. So Deborah, you're not alone. I just want to make sure you know that. There are so many people just like you who want to throw out the crap but hold on to the good, and I just want to say it's okay to do that. You don't have to accept crap along with good if they're not part of the same product. And community can be separated from the religion as whenever we want it to, essentially. I think back, the Boy Scouts was another huge part of my childhood. And while I fully identify that organization needs to make amends for all of the children who were abused, fortunately, that was not the experience of myself or anybody in my troop, to my knowledge, at least. I'm one of the other Eagle Scouts in my organization lives next to me and rents this unit that I'm living in to me. And I'm still good friends with his father, who is our scoutmaster. And the point being is that Boy Scouts, while it has religious roots, it's not a religious organization, really. You have to, in theory, be a part of some religion to be a member of it. But that's the kind of thing, and again, we would degender it as the Boy Scouts has been doing, because I want kids to grow up with kids, not boys to grow up with boys and girls to grow up with girls. That just causes problems. But we need something like that in life. We need an organization that, and I don't necessarily think it's exclusively the atheist community of Austin, but that's one of the reasons that I'm here, is to spread that feeling of community to people and to help people find the resources they need to restore that feeling of community, because that's very important to people. It's crucial to being human, to be a part of something. And so anyway, I've been monologuing for a little bit here.
No, it's cool. We knew this. I knew this would happen when we got you on here. It mirrors your conversational style, and I love it.
Go on.
The one thing that I'd add to that, though, is how kind of artificial it is. Because I was enamored by youth groups in my younger days also, and I had a lot of fun in my church youth groups. But I came to very quickly realize that they're only your friends because you share this belief, and it's not just churches that do this, right? Like I did community theater, and when you do community theater, you work with the same people sometimes every night for months, and you just naturally get those bonds with them just because you're around each other so much. Church has this added benefit of building a community because, well, it's kind of an imperative to go to church every Sunday, and then it throws youth group on top of that to make you feel this connected. But those connections very quickly go away when you're no longer affiliated with that group, and some of the people that you thought you were closest to, it turns out they weren't those good of friends. And then there's one more awkward step than that are the people who, once you start saying, I don't really believe this anymore, and I don't want to go to this, they believe that their only purpose in your life is to try to bring you back into the fold. Right. Is this ringing any bells with you, Deborah? Hello?
She thinks
there you are.
that I am the absolute devil because I raised 3 atheist children because I gave them the freedom to choose. And she thinks that I am just awful because I did that. And, you know, with friends, like I had a dear friend for years and years and years. And then when he found out that I was atheist or questioning my beliefs, he told me he could no longer be my friend. And that actually left a pretty big hole in my life because I was like, wait a minute, we've been friends since like the 7th grade and I'm 51 now. So we've been friends for a long time and you're going to walk away from me? And it was actually very disheartening for me because there was he was my first love. You know, we dated, got all the hearts, flowers, and Twitter pated like Bambi. But for him to just go, okay, you know what? Everything we shared is nothing. It was so hard for me to deal with that. I was just like, you know, I guess that you didn't care for me as much as I care for you because I care for you as a human being. I will still send, you know, supportive hugs or whatever over Facebook when your children are feeling ill, but you have no such feelings or sympathy for me and what I'm going through in my life. And it was very disheartening for me.
Well, this is I want to take this moment to you know, there are a lot of atheists who will share this kind of experience who once they left their religion, they had a lot of negative experiences with people who it turned out were only their friends because they shared a religious belief. And I will implore the atheists among us in the audience and who else might be listening that, you know, let's show a good example here. And if somebody does, you know, if they do the opposite, if they say, I'm starting to explore this religion, you know what? That doesn't mean that we can't be friends. And it doesn't mean that I can't reach out to you in a meaningful way and still have a good connection with you. You know, let's not be the same negative experience that we're hearing that comes from the theist side.
No,
so what are you doing differently? Like you grew up in that and you said you're a parent now. So what are you doing differently with your kids to make sure that they don't go into the same little spiral?
Well, my kids are all grown now, but I actually gave them the opportunity. I'm like, when they were younger and they started questioning things, I sat down and I educated them. And I'm like, do you want to try this? Do you want to go to Sunday service or whatever? And if they said yes, we went. And if that didn't work for them, we went to something else. And in the end, they all 3 decided that it just was not something that they could believe in because all 3 of my children are very facts-based children. They're all intellectual, and they're like, this makes no sense to me. And treating somebody different because they're not religious makes no sense to me. And my daughter especially had a really I considered it actually cruel. Because she had become like really good friends with this young lady and they were spending the night and they were having fun parties. It was great. The minute that her parents found out that I was not pushing a religious upbringing for her, their daughter was no longer allowed to come over our house. And my poor broken-hearted little 7-year-old did not understand why. And, I kind of had to explain that to her. And I think at 7 years old, she started to make the jump to, that's not right. That's not right. They were taught to treat people well, no matter what. You know, you see somebody who's in need, give them a hand. You know, that's how my children were raised, and they're all really great. If I could brag for a minute, they're all incredible human beings. And you just honestly have to give your children the ability to explore themselves, in my opinion, and you'd be amazed what a good human being they turn out to be.
Yeah. And that's the thing is people, when given the resources to, achieve who is it? Maslow, I believe, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If people if people have the resources they need to have those basic needs fulfilled, they're going to explore, they're going to question, they're going to be curious. They may become painters, they may become construction workers. Who knows? Actually, those 2 things aren't that different because buildings do need to be painted after they're built. Painters and construction workers and musicians and doctors and all of that, and let people explore. I think that the worst thing you could do is tell your kid, this is what I did and you should too. Regardless what you did, even if it worked, you can tell your kid, hey, this is what I did for a few years and this is what other adults do. And, this is how it works for these folks over in this church and this synagogue and this mosque and all of that. And that's fine. But yeah, I was raised with the understanding that my parents were successful because they were Christian. And they're not even like successful. Like, you know, we have one house, not two. I'll put it that way. But yeah, and it's not. I don't even mean to make it sound like a prosperity gospel thing. That we were never prosperity gospel preachers or believers. But ultimately, yeah, it was just the teaching that the belief is tied to the result. And whereas actually the result is tied to the person creating the result and the community behind them and the community they were raised in. The religion itself is tied to that community, but again, as I always say, it needs to be severed and the community needs to be sustained, because that's what's really important, is for people to feel, you know, welcome and important and, you know, belong somewhere, to feel needed.
The rule for that is just follow Puck's rule of treating people in a very basic way. BASIC. Make people feel beautiful, accepted, safe, important, and comfortable.
Oh, I like that. Especially comfortable. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll notice, I'll notice I'm being kind to somebody, but they still seem uncomfortable. And I'm like, oh, maybe I just need to back off, you know, whether it be a romantic interest or a friend interest or whatever.
It's going to be different for different people, but what matters is reaching out to them and saying, you know what, I want this to be a place that's comfortable for you.
But yeah, no, you always want people to be comfortable around you. And if they're not comfortable, maybe that's a sign that you shouldn't be around each other, if not, you know, forever, just for the time being.
Well, thank you very much, Deborah. We got to move on to some other callers, but thank you very much for giving us a call and sharing your story with us. Okay, and we have somebody else who wants some advice here, so let's move on to...
I don't know why they'd ask me for advice.
Let's go to Josh from Virginia. How are you doing, Josh?
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Doing well. What can we do for you?
So I'm a atheist for about 1.5 years now, but my parents are still really religious, so theist. And we've been like, at first, you know, it was like the big fight and all, but we got past that. It's like, we just don't talk about it anymore. But now, like the whole COVID thing and everything, you know, going on, like, and I go to college, so George Mason, you know, Virginia. And so the thing is, like, my parents are all like, you know, anti-vax, very anti-vax. And so like, I just don't talk to them about that. But like, I don't know where to like, because like, they don't even speak English. Like they speak Spanish, and it's like I can't even give them the information. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Oh, I hear you. Do you mind if I ask? Do you speak fluent Spanish, or just kind of functional from what you've learned at home, or?
Yeah. It's fluent enough. Yeah. I speak good Spanish. I mean, I was raised
fluent slash functional maybe. But yeah, no, that's the thing when it gets to the super scientific stuff. You know, if there isn't even a baseline for you to speak knowledgeably about biology in Spanish, then it's very hard to explain concepts about biology in Spanish if you don't know the words to use.
Yeah.
And that's something you wouldn't learn unless you're at a collegiate level. Yeah.
So are you still you're in college, but you're still living with your parents, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I've been like, I want to like move out, and I have the money, but it's like I need to stay with them because I need to finish college. You know?
No, right. Yeah. I mean, what's happening is like you're bringing me back to my younger days when I lived with family that I disagreed with, and my parents spoke fluent English, but it wasn't their primary language either. So this is kind of resonating with me a little, and I suppose like how. Is it like a really big important part of your family that you all agree on these same views on religion and science? Like, do they make a big deal out of it, or is it kind of something that they can hold aside for the sake of keeping the peace in the house?
They do make it a big thing, but I try to manage it and try to like wash the surface. You know what I'm saying? So like when I get home, like they'll be like listening to like preachers or like people on YouTube, like telling them crazy stuff about vaccines and Bill Gates and all this crazy stuff. It's just like,
yeah.
And then like they go to church, you know, it's just really hard. I don't know where to go from this.
And one thing that you may have to be under the very realistic possibility that to them, you're always going to be the kid. Like no matter how educated you get, no matter how much of a grown-up you are, there are a lot of family structures where there's a very strong feeling of the kid must never educate the parent. And they're never, and I'm just saying, I can't say this for your case specifically, but these kind of parents will never turn around on a position because their kids. In fact, you might have the backfire effect here, where if you push on something strongly enough, just because it came from you, that's more reason that they're not going to buy into it. It sounds harsh, but that's the way they are sometimes. So, like the next question after convincing them is somehow coexisting with them. How possible is that?
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like, I'm on the process of trying to like move out, but I don't know if I can because it's just a crazy world. Like, I don't know what to do right now, honestly. But,
no, I get it. There's a lot of there's a lot of things that are up in the air in the world right now. It's hard to make any sort of life plans whatsoever. So,
yeah.
So okay, so if you're,
I'm like,
go ahead, please. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
I was talking over you. Yeah. So like, I guess so like with my mom, like I did have one time we talked about a lot of stuff, and I it was a nice way because like me and my dad, like he gets very like aggressive and stuff. So like, and my mom can be much easier to talk to, right? So one time I did talk to my mom, and and in a nice way, I pointed out like the things that are so obvious or like so like just like some common fallacies that and just use it like against them to show just to show her, and she like sees it, like she has like in those moments, but she doesn't want to budge. And then when she gets like offensive about it, like, and then we like go at it, and then at the end of that, like that's when I stopped talking to her about the whole vax thing, because after that she just pretty much at the end what she said was, oh, so you're saying that the information that I'm getting are some stupid people, so you're calling me stupid? And I'm like, no, that is not how it is.
No. Yeah. Not at all. And I mean, depending on the kind of information that people get and who they choose to trust, it's not a reflection on them being stupid. I mean, some of these things are very convincing if you don't have good information otherwise, and even if you do have good information otherwise, a lot of these are still presented in a very, very convincing, heart-touching way that it has nothing to do with intelligence at all. You're going to find very intelligent people on both sides. It's just, now my big question is, are you able to make good decisions for yourself about yourself, despite what they believe? Like, are you able to make the choice to be vaccinated yourself, or healthcare decisions on your own?
Right. So that's exactly. So I'm already vaccinated. I've been vaccinated. Okay. I got it as soon as I could because I understand the science and I know what's going on. I understand. I can see the other side too. But and so that's the latest thing that's been coming up. Her saying, "Oh, are you?" Because school's right around the corner, like in 2 weeks, and she's like, "Oh, are you going to go back to school? Or are you going to get vaccinated?" She's all asking like these things. I'm just like, I just keep like, honestly, like I just don't even stay in the house. Like I go to the gym, I go to work, and I try to leave the house.
Yeah.
In family structures like that, I mean, it's just the reality that us kids were never going to convince our parents of anything that they don't want to hear from us. It sucks. But yeah, please, Martin.
Yeah, if I can just chime in at the end there. Puck is absolutely correct that parents are bad at learning things from their children. And that's funny because parents will also say that their kids know way more about their smartphones than they ever could. So which is it, parents? But in all seriousness, you know what I mean though? Oh, my kid will figure it out. Oh, my kid's an idiot. Like which is it? which do you want? Because that's Schrodinger's child you have there. They're both simultaneously an idiot.
Like today, I helped them fix the Wi-Fi.
Yep.
Right. I helped them fix the Wi-Fi, and that's something that I do often. Like it's just something simple.
Yeah, and then they assume that they know about the 5G chip. Actually, I don't know if you mentioned that your parents believe in the chip or not. They believe in whatever vaccine conspiracy.
At some point, they did believe in that. Yeah,
exactly. And that's the thing too. Is I think the best way to have this conversation, if you were to ever have it, would probably be wait until you live somewhere else. Given that you don't want to compromise your home life, you want to make sure you get through college, I assume, in a timely manner. And unfortunately, biting the bullet is probably what's best for you at this point, if you're asking for my 2 cents. But when you do go to have that conversation, remind them what they once believed about the same topic and try to contrast it with what they believe now and ask them what changed. And this gets into, oh boy, truth wanted. This gets into street epistemology, where it's best to have these conversations by asking questions. And that's the thing too, is former / current edgelords such as myself are really good at asking loaded questions. And what you have to do is you have to make sure you unload the question first. Don't hand somebody a loaded gun question, if you will. Instead, ask them a genuine question that you genuinely want to know the answer to, and make sure that you present it in a way that, like, hey, like, can we talk about this? Not in like a, I need to reprimand you or I need to teach you something, but in like a, hey, I'd like to learn what you know about this because maybe I'm missing something. And so again, those street epistemology conversations are really important. But again, in regard to your housing situation, I would give you the utmost caution to make sure you don't create a hostile home environment for yourself by causing somebody else to create it through being provoked. And I don't want to make it sound like it would be your fault if that happened. Of course, it wouldn't be, but you can still make sure that you set yourself up for success, even if they aren't doing that for themselves, I guess is what I'll say. And that's the difference between being a kid and an adult, folks. Sometimes you got to cut your losses.
The only other thing I'd add to that is, Josh, please keep us informed about what's going on if you'd like to. You can email us, truth@atheist-community.org. Look us up on Discord or in our Facebook fan group. Keep talking with us. I'd kind of like to know what decisions you've made and how you're doing with them, all right?
Yeah, so for finishing school, I can finish within about in a year or maybe half a year. But the thing is, I would have to go full time, and my parents don't have that money. I'm working a full time job, so it's really stretching,
Yeah. Well, we got to move on tonight, Josh, but please keep us informed. And if you hit us up on those groups, there's going to be other people there who can give you a lot of good, meaningful advice too, especially dealing with bilingual families like the ones we had. All right. So thank you very much for giving us a call tonight, and keep in touch with us. All right. Let us now move on to, I want to make sure I get this right. Is this Mr. Tapia from Minnesota?
Yep, that's me.
Mr. Tapia, what did you want to
That's me, yeah, that's me. Yeah. I want to know if, okay, first of all, I'm kind of on the beginning of deconstructing my faith and probably getting away from it because I'm starting to have some doubts, but the one thing that really got to me, first things first, I am Latino, and, and I come from immigrant parents from Mexico, Puebla, and I would like to know, did Christianity have a big part in racism and prejudice, but mostly racism?
Well, the short answer is yes. And the long answer is something that you could have entire YouTube series about. I don't think that's even an exaggeration.
Yes, the short answer is indeed yes. And I would even rephrase it. To say, what did you say? Does Christianity have something to do with racism? I'd say more racism has something to do with Christianity. The two are just intertwined. The whole doctrine behind Christianity is go into the lands of the heathens that surround you and spread spread the word of the Lord Jesus Christ. The lands of the heathens that surrounded them were typically people of other races. Sorry, go ahead.
Holy crap.
What's up?
Okay, that would explain a lot. It's just that because it all starts back in Sunday school, all that. Your youth leaders, youth pastors, they would, I was wondering how many friendships did I lose? It's because apparently they were always, this would seem odd to me. Every time we would ask, hey, okay, this comes from a kid. I don't know how he got this what's it called? He asked the youth pastor this. He asked about about Asian people. The kid was like, "Hey, I made a new friend, and he's not Latino. He's Asian. He does other things. He worships differently. He went to they invited him over to his house. He didn't tell his parents because he wanted to know from the youth pastor, what do you think?" The youth pastor literally just said, "Yeah, don't do what he does. He's not from our belief." And
no, that absolutely ties into the sense of tribalism, and that's the thing is, I don't want anybody to think that I'm claiming that in church they say to white people that you should think this about non-white people. No, it's never that cut and dry. Right. Humans learn things about society through context clues and through situations that we're in as a youth that we then draw conclusions from and apply for the rest of our lives. And so ultimately, even if there is no cut, set, and dry rule, though it is funny that the youth pastor did directly address it in your situation, while there's no cut and dry rule of like, hey, these groups shouldn't interact, it sure is funny that that's how it ends up happening anyway. And so that's where kind of the difference between explicit racism, which is, saying, hey, racial slur and pointing at somebody of that ethnicity, and implicit racism, which is, oh, well, they go to the other church, the other church. Or, oh, well, they aren't Christian, they're Muslim because they're from the Middle East, like that kind of stuff. And that's where it gets into, again, the tribalism between different, let me just finish real quick. The tribalism between different sects of Christianity, different races that practice different sects or in different sects of Christianity, and different races that practice non-Christian religions. Because there are Asian people who go to Christian church, just like there are Asian people who practice sorts of different religions. I almost don't even want to say Asian because there are so many countries in Asia and they all have different religious practices. There is no one even Asian religion per se. Go ahead.
Yeah. That's the thing. When I was little, I did not know there were Asians that would practice Christianity. Heck, I didn't even know there were what's it called? I just really found out that there are people in Muslim countries that practice Christianity, and I'm like, I heard that the persecution complex, all that, being persecuted. But that's the thing. How come I keep hearing here in the United States, we are persecuted here, this Christian group is being persecuted, but in another country, like say a Muslim country, those Christians, we're not doing anything for them. And
right.
I wonder why we don't address it. And another thing too.
Well, again, that comes back to sorry, Tapia, you're making a lot of points and I'd like to address them one at a time. Comes back to the sense of, no, you're fine. No worries. This is an exciting topic. There's a lot to get into here. But that comes back to the sense of tribalism and even nationalism, as you were alluding to with the whole, this is a Christian nation, but also Christians are persecuted here. But no, it's a Christian nation. But no, Christians are persecuted. Like, again, which is it? They can't pick a lane because they don't realize that they're the ones in I don't want to say in charge as in there is a dictate that comes down or a mandate that comes down from heaven that says that Christians need to run America. But it sure is funny how every single American leader, with very few exceptions in like Congress, has been Christian. So again, which is it? Are Christians persecuted here or are they in the leadership? Because they can't have it both ways, but they want to have it both ways. And so Tapia, I think to kind of, because I know we're getting to the end here and I think we still have a call on the hold. But to kind of summarize real quick, you're absolutely right about the sense of tribalism and nationalism, and it's very important to realize that. That's something that I've struggled with for years, is admitting to myself, yeah, I used to be racist, and I still kind of like am sometimes, and I don't mean to be. I don't mean to make those judgments internally, but sometimes they just happen because if you grow up that way, if you grow up being taught that that's the way that you're supposed to think about other people, those processes are hardwired in here. And it takes time to get rid of them. It really does.
You're taking the right steps, though, and you're asking the right questions.
Absolutely.
And keep doing
Talking
it.
to the right folks.
Yeah. I'm glad that we're able to give you a community that you can ask these questions to. What's that?
Gonna give you a call back some other time. And I heard you guys have another
absolutely.
show too.
I was going to say,
absolutely
Tapia,
call us back and let us know what's going on.
Tapia, why don't
near
you,
the end of the show, we're going to give you some links and other places that you can keep in touch with us, so you don't have to wait for a call-in show on Friday nights to get in touch with us. We'll give you plenty of information. All right.
Yeah, I was going to say, in addition to that, just because I don't appear on these shows very often, if you show up in the comments on the full show, the hour-and-a-half version of this show on YouTube, I'll definitely reply to you if you have further questions or anything else you want to discuss. I'm usually pretty active in the comments on the episodes that I appear on. But
we got to move on to Mr. Tapia. Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Thank you very much for calling us, and thank you for sharing part of your story. Please keep engaging with us in our other avenues. All right. We do have one last caller, and I think this is going to be a quick one. So let's go ahead and talk to Jordan from California. Jordan, what's your question?
Hey guys, I don't know if this would be a short question, but I would like to say that I wonder, we talk about our religion a lot on this channel, at least I assume. So what's the difference between religious beliefs and non-religious beliefs? Is there any way to make a distinction? Because the idea of religion is such a broad category. I wonder what you wouldn't consider religion.
Okay, sure. So to me, and this is not the dictionary definition. This is the colloquial. This is what I understand other people to mean by this. That what differentiates a religion from non-religion is a central authority figure. It answers the questions about before life, after life, questions like that, and then it has a system of what's the best way to put this? Rituals and worship associated with that. So those are the three things that stand out to me. I know it's not technically a textbook definition, but that's when somebody approaches me about what is religion, those are the three things that stand out to me. Martin, what's your answer to this?
Yeah, I would say generally a religion is something surrounding a deity or deified being. Some religions can be nature religions where the nature is the deity. And so that's the thing with deities is, in my opinion, they're all made up. So is there a great definition of what is a deity and what isn't? Not really. It's kind of hard to come to strict definitions of things that are made up because, I mean, really, if we talk about it, everything is made up.
Yeah.
But, you could call a rock whatever you want. It's still a finite object. But when we get into fluffy language and we don't have a finite object on the other end of it to describe with the fluffy language, that's where we get into this big mess.
Yeah.
And so
then not to jump to,
I look for, go ahead.
Not to jump to conclusions, but usually the reason somebody asks this question in the first place is to try to make some sort of equivocation between religious belief and non-religious belief. And somebody who's a theistic believer will say, well, look, you have faith too. So you're no better than us, it's like, well, you worship money the same way that I would worship God, and usually it's to try to draw some false equivalency to try to legitimize a religious belief.
Well, to answer the part B of his question, a non-religious belief would be something that's not tied to a deity or deity-based system. So, let's say I believe I can fly and I jump off of a building. Now, that's a stupid example, obviously. But if that were to happen, I'd say that's a non-religious belief as long as my belief in flying isn't tied to a deity or a religious organization. It's, maybe my belief in air going up and not down or something stupid. But anyway, my point being, believing in aliens could be a non-religious belief. Believing in Bigfoot could be a non-religious belief. So there are non-religious beliefs, and that's where I really like the word supernatural. I generally lump all non-religious beliefs in things that I don't find to be demonstrated to be true. I guess I'll phrase it that way. To be to generally be that, whereas religious beliefs are obviously just around a deity.
Does that mean that you don't consider, if we're talking about a central deity figure, you may have to emphasize what you mean by that? Does that mean so-called religions like Jainism or Buddhism? Well, they may not believe they goddesses in some forms in Theravada Buddhism, but not specifically, but
well, that's
and you can draw some interesting distinctions between what makes
religions.
you can make an interesting distinction between what is the difference between a religion and a philosophy, like, you know, a life philosophy. There's interesting distinctions to be made there. To me, though, I mean, what ultimately is important is what is the other person trying to get me to agree to a definition for? And I'm sensing that there's more of this kind. I wish that we had more time for this, but we are rapidly nearing the end of the show. Jordan, I wish that
a few minutes. No.
Okay, all right. Okay, let's hear.
What are we getting into? Let's not put it for next week, Puck. This isn't going to happen again, bud.
All right.
All right. What's up, Jordan? We're in overtime now. What's going on?
Sudden death overtime.
I appreciate you guys for your time, first of all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but like it seems like when we make a definition of something, it has to be something objective, because otherwise, like we've been discussing for the last like thousands of years, like what is justice, what is being with Martin Heidegger, and like what is gender. And if it's all subjective, then it just means like all these debates seem to be worthless. And because things like knowledge and all those types of definitions seem to be.
Wait, hold on. Stop. I want to draw a very firm distinction between something that is objective and drawing that idea that if something is not objective, it's worthless. Okay.
And then I want to go.
No.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
No. I know you're not. I know you're not. But I'm glad Puck drew that line.
Let's just get this down right now, okay? Because ultimately, what's going to be important is how we deal with each other. There are a number of people who think of morality as how did this person describe it, as like appealing to a standard or appealing to a higher authority, or how we deal with each other. Okay, and how we deal with each other and how we deal with the society that we're with. This has more to morality to me than being correct. Okay, so that's just me, and we don't have time to get into that now.
Get into this.
I know, I'm just giving an example. Okay.
Well, yeah, I wanted to address.
That's usually where people go when they start saying the word objective. So I'm just trying to head that off.
Yeah, but Puck, let's not head off our.
That is fine.
Hold on. Yeah, I was going to say, let's not try to head off our caller. Let's let our caller make the argument and then parse it.
Okay. All right.
So what I was going to say is, you said that things that are subjective are meaningless.
Yeah.
If I think that a painting is beautiful,
I didn't say that.
Oh no! Okay, no. Hey, my apologies. If you didn't say that, then I misunderstood you, Jordan. Okay, this isn't the gotcha game. If you didn't say that, then I misunderstood you. So what did you say?
It's fine. I get you guys. It's cool. Okay, so essentially what I was saying is that when we look at knowledge and when we look at like debating about beliefs, it seems because we have this sense of disagreement about the definition of formal terms like justice, knowledge, and belief and things of that stuff, like debate all the time in epistemology. It seems like it's not something to be subjective, because otherwise, like when we get into when we get into definitional disagreements, it means that we're kind of presupposing the idea that one definition is superior to another. And also I'd make the argument that like if we were all to have like individual definitions of like concepts, then how could communication ever be possible? Because
oh my god, I'm so ready.
Communication depends upon the idea that we at least have some shared concept that we're talking about when we get into discussion. Otherwise, we couldn't have any shared meaning that we're talking about with each other.
Don't let me hold you back,
Jordan. Hey, Jordan, we do have a shared concept of justice. It's called the government that we formed 200 and whatever years ago, and the governments that were formed before those. That is what humans do. We come together and form society. A third party did not come in and install a government in America and then leave. We did that to ourselves.
Wait. That is there. Like when you're talking about justice, for like the United, that's just like an instance of justice. That's not like the definition of justice, right?
Well, why do we need the definition of justice?
Goes and makes laws, or like it helps us with rules.
Jordan,
stuff,
do you?
Right? But that's
Jordan,
like a particular instance. That's not like the universal like of justice.
There is well, that's the problem. There is no universal justice. There's only situational anything. Everything is based on the situation in which it happens. There's nothing that happens in a vacuum. If you can find me justice in a vacuum, I will give you $100. I don't even know what that would be. What is justice in a vacuum? What is justice without a victim and a perpetrator? What is justice without restitution? And restitution requires physical means. Like justice is directly tied to people. So if you're talking about this concept of justice, you're trying to find an answer where none exists. Justice is situational. I would love it if you'd go talk to like some judges or lawyers about justice. And because the way that you're talking about it is this pie in the sky abstract of, oh, justice, like you might as well be saying Jesus. There is no true justice in this world. There's only the justice that we create for ourselves. And the way we create that justice is by collaborating and deciding, oh, okay, so Farmer Bob went over and killed Farmer John's, cow. Okay, now Farmer John has to give Bob a cow. That's justice, right? That's my understanding of justice. But would it be just if, we went in and we beat the shit out of John and then took all of his cows and gave them to Bob? No, that's not justice. And we can all agree on that, I hope. And so ultimately, again, justice is humans coming to an agreement about what is just. There is no universal justice, at least none that I've ever found. And I won't pretend that I've searched the entire universe. But I think your pursuit of these absolutes.
I'm not hearing that even presuppose this like sort of like.
Hold on. Let me wrap. Give me Jordan. Give me
chill. Let Martin finish.
15 seconds, and I'll hand the mic right back to you, brother. We don't monologue here, though I love to. Basically, again, where was I going with that? Fuck. All right. No, go ahead. You're fine. I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry for interrupting you with that, but
it's okay. This is spicy.
I'm not trying to
hot topic.
say this any sort of like platonic form of justice or anything like that. But even if we're like coming with this conception of like language games where our society forms like concepts according to like rules in a chessboard, except they're for like every concept, you have to form a theory in like how individuals interact with these different concepts. Like
Jordan,
okay, what does it mean to say that we all agree upon a concept? Does it mean like if we form concepts in our brains, like mental states, then how could it be that I could share that mental state with another individual?
You could describe it using words that human then understands. I mean, you couldn't perfectly describe the exact mental state that you're having because that would require your physical state to be copied. Because, from my understanding, our mental state is derived from our physical state, as in if there is no physical state, there is also no mental state. So again, how could that be? Well, it couldn't. You're looking for these universal perfects, these, oh yes, we had the same thought, or this is the same justice, or this is exactly what gender is. All this shit is made up by humans. All of it. All of it. The entire thing. The whole of humanity, life, it's all just us. And that's an incredible concept. And it took me years to accept it as a former religious person. But once you do, you realize that you have way more control over your life than you ever thought you did. Because you can decide what justice is for you. And you can work with others to decide what justice is for them. Like that's life, dude. There is nobody's going to come in and say, oh, this is exactly what this is. Nobody created language except for us. We created language because we needed a way to talk to each other better, not because somebody said, hey, make a dictionary. And I know you're not claiming that. I'm not trying to, that came off a little straw man-y, and I'm not trying to straw man you. I just want to make sure that I'm making the point that in your search for objectivity, and that's why I love Dan's name, I don't think you'll ever find it. But keep looking and let us know if you do. With that being said, Puck, if you have any closing thoughts.
It is time to wrap up the show. Thank you very much, Jordan, for calling in. I get the feeling there's a part two. And I would love to engage with you again.
This is a central question, that relates to what you said.
Jordan, we really don't have time for this. I wish we did. I'm going to have you either call back. Martin, Jordan, I'm either going to have you call back or look at our other methods to get to you, and we will absolutely talk about that right now. Martin, what did you think about your first Truth Wanted?
Well, considering that I will now have to go reheat my leftovers, I had a great time. I'm really fucking hungry, though. I'm not gonna lie.
I've been filling up on orange soda, so I'm taking care. But I know that feeling.
This is such a great way to ring in my 1 year with the ACA, because it was August 7th, 2020 when I first had a video chat with Katie Stewart, and she explained to me what we need for a call screener and availability and all of that. And I want to say to anybody who has the time, anybody who has the interest, anybody who has it has nothing to do with your monetary ability. You know, ACA doesn't need money. We need people to form this community and keep it going. The ACA atheist community of Austin. But any amount of help helps, whether that be just moderating the YouTube chat. You can also moderate our Facebook pages, which are run by fans for fans, or the Discord channel, the atheist community of Discord. That reminds me. I guess we're going to do an after show, so I might not get to,
I am absolutely doing the after show. Yep. I'm going to be there.
Well, I'm going to do that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, call to action. If you have any time that you can spare, the ACA always needs more volunteers. So reach out over Facebook, reach out over Twitter, reach out over Discord, and we'll be happy to have you.
And if you are able to contribute financially, we have a number of ways of doing so. One of them you can see in the banner right down there. Go to patreon.com/truthwanted. There's a number of great perks in there, including being called out at the end of every episode, becoming a patron of the week, getting access to commercial-free copies of our podcast. So give that a look. You can also donate directly from the show. If you look under the chat, there's a fun little fundraiser button there. Click on that, and all the money goes straight to the ACA to help put on great shows like this. And Martin called it out already, so I feel kind of awkward reiterating it, but there's a lot of other ways to get a hold of us. One of them is the Facebook groups. So if you go to facebook.com/groups/truthfg, I'm there every day. There's a whole bunch of people who are there. I hope that a number of our callers go in there and follow up and keep those conversations going in our Truth Wanted fan run group. Then we're going to go to our Discord straight after this. This again, fan run Discord. It's ACA. Wow, what is it? tiny.cc/ACD Discord. There it is, right down there. Fabulous crew. Give me the cues when I need it. To check out this show and all the other shows that the ACA does in podcast form, check out AEN Podcasts. This tiny.cc/AEN Podcast to listen to back episodes of Truth Wanted, Atheist Experience, and all your other favorite ACA shows in one stop. Merch. We have some fantastic Truth Wanted merch. I wear this mask. It's great, but the problem with me is my area code is 513, so I have to tell people, no, 512 is not a typo. Go to tiny.cc/merch ACA, and you can you look as dapper as I do. And since both Martin and I came from the crew, I think we would all be remiss if we didn't shout them out one last time. Thank you very much to the crew who has done so much today to keep this episode going. What are you doing with that? Are you trying to roll a natural 20 on a 6-sided die? I don't think that's how that works, but
it's amazing.
You guys, thank you very much for doing what you do. Thank you to the audience for being here. And as always, everyone, please keep wanting the truth.
Watch Talk Heathen live Sundays at 1 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTTH and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/callth.